Hey, what is up, mortals? It is Sam Gabriel here, and welcome to What If Deku Was in 1B Part 13. Just wanted to greet you guys by just saying sit back and relax. You're in for a treat, so we begin. Deku! Todoroki had to stop the wide-eyed blonde from blasting forward, and Bakugo glared angrily at his classmate. Oi, don't stop! Bakugo, you're a target too, remember? There was a pause, a thought, and then an irritated tongue clicked before rubies glared at the villain. Such fierce eyes. That talent isn't someone who belongs on the hero's side. The masked man started to monologue as he fiddled with the marble. And this young one, such hidden emotions. We'll take him to a stage and cultivate his potential to a stage where he'll shine brighter than he ever would have as a hero. He didn't want to hear it. Somewhere inside him, Bakugo understood why the villains would be after him, but this wasn't it. The masked villain in front of him was calling Izuku, the greenette of all people, a potential villain. Potential? Potential my ass! That damn nerd barely has anything for himself as a hero, and you're spouting this crap about him being a villain? You don't know when to shut up. Mr. Compress only grinned underneath the mask at the seething face. Move! A wave of ice went hurtling toward the villain, but was easily dodged. The man flew above the ground and landed in a tree further away. Sorry. Tricks and running away are my only redeeming features. I am but an entertainer. Placing the marble into his pocket, Mr. Compress clicked his earpiece. Vanguard Action Squad. Second target successfully collected. First target at my heels. Assistance required. The villain ran off toward his given coordinate, and the students immediately gave chase. Mr. Compress already succeeded. Took him long enough. I was just getting sleepy. A villain in a black and white skin suit contradicted himself as he walked after a scarred man. The purple stitches glinted darkly against the haunting pale blue light that the raging sapphire inferno behind them gave off. This place was supposed to be hard to find because of the wall of flames and gas, but the gas was cleared away. Things never go according to plan, huh? Damn it, he's fast! Bakugo cursed as he and Todoroki ran across the forest floor. Kurohito already merged with the shadows and had disappeared from sight. Oi, Icy Hot! Make a cannon big enough for me to rotate in! The bicolored boy was about to protest, but the look on his classmate's face made him doubt his own judgment. Deciding to listen, he stopped and made a massive tunnel pointing toward the escaping villain. Bakugo grinned menacingly as his hands crackled. If I blast my way out of here, then there will be no damn fires! Jumping in, the human missile let off a series of small explosions from his palms and used the ice to guide himself out of the cylinder. Die! Huh? No one else is here yet? Toga, the girl who had escaped from the group earlier, appeared at the meeting spot. Her messy space buns bounced as she looked around. After getting told off for not getting anyone's blood, she stood to the side and pouted. It's not my fault someone came every time. I was going to get it. Just as she was about to grumble about Izuku taking away the two girls she had been stalking, a loud crash could be heard. Bakugo landed down, holding Mr. Compress in a chokehold. Kurohito suddenly appeared underneath the villain and also held the man down. Now give back the damn nerd! Mister, get out of the way. Dabi held up a hand and the masked villain immediately glowed. Both kids leapt out of the way in the nick of time as a current of brilliant blue flames engulfed the area they stood in. Target? A ferocious blast toward the incoming twice made the contradicting man back up. Acquired! Or not. A fight immediately broke out as the villains aimed for Bakugo. Kurohito assisted by hiding in the looming shadows and trying to catch anyone off guard by popping out and trying to take them down. The white-haired kid tried merging with Dabi's black coat and suffocating him, but the villain casually burnt the fabric away. He didn't seem to care that his skin was aflame and casually patted the burnt clothes. I can't believe the target himself came flying at me. A missed opportunity, but I must insist I help. Mr. Compress reached a hand toward the blonde, but was too late. Bakugo dodged it and blasted himself to the edge of the clearing. Where's the second one? The masked villain reached into his pocket. Bakugo, let's get out of here, Kurohito yelled as he held up a marble. The blonde didn't hesitate to rush off. He wasn't naive enough to think he could fend them all off, and he was a target too. Oh, where do you think you're going? Blah blah blah, attack mode blah. The two were about to rush into the trees when they skidded to a stop. The sickly green-skinned Nomu bumbled from the trees as Dabi yelled out, "Nomu, capture that kid alive!" A wild screech tore through the forest as the creature ran toward the blonde. "Bakugo!" Kurohito couldn't do anything but watch as the inhumanly strong creature grabbed the 1A student by the leg and dangled him. "Target secure. Now get the second one." "No! No, wait!" Mr. Compress held up a gloved hand as a warp gate suddenly appeared. "It's you." Kurohito immediately recognized the villain from the USJ and without hesitation jumped forward. He merged with the pitch-black mist, but before he could take control, Kurogiri expanded so far that the student fell out. "There's no need to aim for him. He ran from here so happily, I thought I'd give him a gift." Mr. Compress's voice caught Vanta Black's attention, who turned to see the magician take off his mask. "One explosion and your head's off, kid. Watch yourself." Kurohito felt his blood freeze as he saw a marble sit on the magician's tongue, and through the reflection, he could see Izuku. "Both targets acquired. Let's go." As the Nomu disappeared, Mr. Compress took a bow and left through the portal. Time seemed to slow down as Kurohito started to rush forward, watching in horror as Dabi started to drag Bakugo into the mist. "No." A ridiculously bright, shining laser blasted through the bushes, accurately toward Dabi's unscarred fingers. The villain reflexively let go, and the blonde scrambled forward, explosions escaping his palms as he got out of grabbing range. A tongue click was followed by the turquoise eyes glaring at the shivering Yuga Aoyama. "Damn it, we'll have to come back." The portal closed just as Kurohito reached it, and Bakugo looked down at his own palms. They were shaking from overusing his quirk, but that wasn't what was on his mind. He had used his last ounce of strength to escape and succeeded, a feat that was impressive and relieving, but he was there. The blonde couldn't get over the fact that Mr. Compress was right next to him when Dabi grabbed his neck. "If I just took the risk then." He angrily kicked the dirt where he stood before looking up at the sky. Pale blue flames were flickering and causing devastation at every turn. The blonde was angry, but not at anyone more than himself. Rage built up within him as the blonde took a sharp intake of breath. "Deku!" Not many heard the scream, as everyone was trying to meet up at camp. Awase was running with Yayorozu on his back, glad that the Nomu they faced suddenly stopped attacking and walked off. Horonuki carried Shiozaki and met with Tetsu as the trio headed back. Aizawa, even though he was heavily injured, pushed himself to carry children who had passed out from the gas as Vlad safeguarded the area. Todoroki arrived at where Bakugo and Kurohito stood and didn't know how to react as the blonde screamed his lungs out. No matter what anyone said, that night, the heroes had completely lost to the villains. The press hounded UA gates the very next morning, asking for official statements and questions. Nezu held a meeting as they discussed their next plan of action, and everyone nodded. After investigation, the location Tokage found was definitely the current base for the League. Further inspection also revealed, although he wasn't there, All Might's arch-nemesis had surveillance on the area. The information let the pros prep early and start rounding up the heroes to fight. Now all that was left was to take action at the right time. "All that this reporter can say is that if I wanted to be a hero, I couldn't possibly enroll her at UA in the current circumstances." The TV was turned off by a maniacally laughing man as he sat in the bar filled with the Vanguard Action Squad. "I'm really thankful for all the publicity we're getting this time. Don't you agree?" Shigaraki turned to look at Izuku, who was tied to a chair, limbs heavily restrained so that he wouldn't try anything. "Why am I here?" The Greenette was trying to be calm within the tense situation, and it seemed to make the leader laugh. "Heroes are so uptight nowadays, but you're different. You and that Bakugo kid. Even though he would have been better, Master was right as usual." A malicious grin appeared from under the hand on Shigaraki's face. "You really do adapt anywhere." Confusion bubbled up from the depths of the boy's stomach, but was quickly distracted. The blonde from across the room had stood up. She walked over, casually swinging a knife before looking at the student. Her golden eyes traced him up and down coldly as she held up the blade. "Shiggy, can I cut him? I still don't like him because he stole the girls I was going to cut, but he's totally my type. If he's just covered in a little bit of blood." Oi, lunatic, stop. I wanted to kill him at first, too. Toga just sighed and skipped back to her seat.
But he has potential. To save All Might, he was going to kill me back in the USJ. And then the sports festival. To save that Todoroki kid.
The leader turns to Izuku with his hands held open wide. It was a welcoming gesture, but all the boy could see were the arms of death.
So, why don't you save society, kid? It's so uptight, and heroes are useless. A child can walk down the street covered in blood and society will just ignore them. Isn't that sad? Why don't you tear it down and build a new one? Izuku Midoriya, join us!
Damn it! A pillow blew up and was left smoking in the corner of the room. Kirishima had walked into the horror show and do nothing but sit on the side. He wanted to help, but really didn't know what to say. He knew that anything that came out of his mouth at that moment would only further upset the blonde. Come in? Kirishima answered hastily as Bakugo didn't reply. The door opened. It was Monoma. What do you want? Not barking like usual? That's a surprise. The tension rose, and Kirishima tried to calm everyone down as ruby eyes glinted darkly. God, I still can't believe I'm doing this. What do you want? I don't have all day. We technically do, considering we plan to leave at night. The voice came from the door, and the three boys turned to Tokage. She was slightly out of breath, as if she had run over, and the wizard girl nodded to Monoma. Okay, I'll get to the point. She quickly explained how she and Monoma had both been knocked out, not from a fight, but from the gas. Their scare sections just happened to be too close, and before chaos could start, they were out. Monoma bowed his head down, a sight 1A had never seen, as the blonde made a fist. While losing consciousness from the gas, I just remember feeling bad for myself. While Midoriya was fighting for his life, I just felt like your best wasn't enough. Kurohito walked in too and sat next to Tokage. He smiled at his classmate wearily. I vowed to keep him safe. I said I would accompany him all the way back to camp, and my own words were thrown back. The wizard girl comfortingly patted her classmate's back, and the 1B students shared a smile. And? Bakugo didn't know what was going on, and the periwinkle eyes rolled around with a sigh. You still don't get it? We're here because I'm asking if you're coming with us. Huh? We're saying that it doesn't matter that we couldn't do anything. We're going to fix it now, and Monoma thought you should come too since you blame yourself. Tokage. What? You know we're only asking him because you secretly worry for everyone. He could just tag along for moral support. I don't really care who comes, since I'm going either way. I'm not going to underestimate them. I learned that already. I'll have a plan, even if I'm going alone. Her outburst surprised Monoma a little, since the bubbly girl was acting so out of character. However, the feeling was mutual, as this time they wanted to help. No one, especially their friend, was going to be left behind. The 1B blonde and Kurohito nodded. They were all going. Bakugo understood what they meant and looked down at his arms. He could still feel the way they shook from overusing his quirk, and the guilt from knowing Izuku was so close. Shit! He clenched his teeth and stood up. Looking at the students from 1B, he spoke out. I'm going. Once the three left, Bakugo got up. Wait, Bakugo. Kirishima, who had sat there silently, finally spoke up. Mr. Aizawa said the pros will handle it. You're a target too. I know you want to go, but... The redhead stopped himself. It wasn't because he didn't know what to say, or because he changed his mind. He was still adamant about the blondes not going. However, every time Izuku was involved, the usually just angry Bakugo would openly express other emotions. And this time, Kirishima saw pain. It was still behind a wall of rage, but it was clear Bakugo was affected by the kidnapping. Even if it meant just standing and watching the 1B students do all the work, the blondes just wanted to confirm Izuku's return with his own eyes. Shut it, weird hair. I'm getting that damn nerd back. Unable to say anything else, the redhead decided he would just support his friend, as he had since the beginning. Night came quickly, and Tokage stood outside with Monoma and Kurohito. The trio waited patiently, and just as he agreed, Bakugo slipped out of his hospital room and joined them. I want to go too. They turned to see Todoroki standing there, and it caused Kirishima to want to go too. No. Why? Monoma looked at the two who wanted to come. If they did, their group would be 6. Because we're already violating rules. Plus, the bigger the group, the more we stand out. Todoroki grit his teeth before lowering his head. He felt like he owed Izuku a debt, in a way. But he wasn't going to go if he only held a group back. There was really nothing else they could do. Instead, Kirishima just smiled. Good luck, Bakubro. There's no way I'd ever join. The green net landed on the floor with a thud as Dabi pinned his body down. Izuku glared at Shigaraki. The second he had been set free, he tried to take the leader out and escape, but it was too reckless, and he got caught. The slight burns on his shoulders stung, but he gritted his teeth through the pain.
Stubborn, aren't we? Damn it, I liked the other one more.
Izuku glared at the leader at the mention of a second kidnapping. He wasn't going to let villains take Bakugo away to turn him into a criminal too. He sat there silently with defensive anger in his eyes, and Shigaraki grinned.
Oh, did that hit a nerve?
After traveling on the train toward the location Tokage had memorized, the 4 students looked around the side path they headed down. Are you sure it's this way? Kurohito was skeptical, but the greenette nodded. Her GPS was starting to run out of signal, so Monoma was gathering their bearings to figure out where the coordinates were. It should be behind that building over there. I'm confused. Wasn't this supposed to be the main hideout? How come we're here? Turning into the alley, this was the location she got before reaching her time limit, and they looked up at the tall wall. No idea. It must be pretty important, though, if the leader passed here before actually leaving for base. There was a single window peeking in, so the lizard girl split and floated up. As she floated a part of herself inside since it was too dark to see, the girl was chilled to the bone. Nomu? Since she didn't say anything, Kurohito merged with the shadow-covered wall and also looked over the edge. He had the same reaction and slowly slid down. Well, the hell is over that wall? Kurohito faced Bakugo, who looked annoyed. Nomu. Loads of them. Monoma froze at the mention as he remembered the USJ. That Nomu was something All Might struggled to put down, and it caused anxiety to build up. It should be fine. I had a closer look. Tokage floated down after reassembling herself and spoke quietly. The one from the USJ was specifically engineered for defeating All Might. These ones only have one specific trait. Deku could fend off one before, when we went patrolling together. And there's no problem. Where's the nerd? I know we agreed for you to stay out of this and just watch. But do you truly think we would keep that from you if we knew? Honestly. The 2 blondes proceeded to glare at each other over the missing Izuku when Kurohito held up a hand. Silence. There's someone coming. Over the news, a broadcast with Nezu, Vlad, and Aizawa was live for Japan. Reporters were asking questions about how the school plans to deal with such scarred kids. After all, Izuku had been through the USJ problem, the stain incident, Ida's death, and seen facing a Nomu. As if it wasn't enough, he had been kidnapped too, and Yue had to deal with the aftermath. As Midoriya's educator, I take full responsibility for his health. Vlad stood up and looked directly at the camera. He is my priority. I will get back my student. Stomach to the floor, Izuku was unable to move with the villain sitting on his back. The greenette's mind was racing as he tried to process everything. They launched a huge operation to catch 2 students and in the end only got 1. Either way, he was someone they deemed to have worth, so... They're not going to kill me immediately. Before they change their mind, because I know Shigaraki really doesn't like me, I need to escape.
Not talking, eh? Well, we don't have the time anyway. The heroes are still investigating us, so... Master?
The villain turned toward a TV screen and spoke.
Lend me your power.
And power? Chills ran up Izuku's spine as the greenette realized who Shigaraki was talking to. Oh no. What just happened? Just a minute ago, Tokage was staring at the pro-heroes who arrived on the scene when a mysterious man walked out. Best Jeanist immediately bound the suit fibers tightly to their body, but with a crackle of black and red discharge, the nearby area erupted skyward. It was a horrible sight for the students. Even Bakugo knew to stay completely silent as they looked at all the heroes shaking on the floor. The only reason they were alive was that the number 4 hero had pulled them away at the last millisecond. All 5 children were frozen in fear. Even running seemed impossible now. What in the world was that? Ugh! Midoriya? Deku? Deku! More silver sludge spluttered from thin air, and the villains appeared. An unconscious Dabi had landed on Izuku's back, but now the Greenette could wriggle out. Scrambling to his feet, the emerald eyes landed on the true leader of the League, and he paled at the sight. All for one. Teeth grit, the student glared at the man and took a few steps back. All Might said his quirk couldn't be forcibly taken, but instinct still drove him backwards. Try again. The leader was talking to Shigaraki as he held out a hand to everyone there. I brought back all your associates. I know you were against the idea of this child too, but he would make such a poetic piece. You're here. The students froze in fear. Even Bakugo, who hadn't moved the whole time, was frigid. Did he spot us? I'll have you return everything! A violent discharge of wind pushed back debris and villains alike as All Might suddenly appeared. He and his arch-nemesis were already glaring daggers at each other before the number 1 hero was flung backwards. All Might's power is in me. He's weaker than All for One now. Just as Izuku thought that, the 2 powerhouses locked fists, and his mentor was once again thrown back into a building. All Might! All for One ordered Shigaraki to escape after forcibly opening Warp Gate from the unconscious Kurogiri. With All Might rushing back to intercept the evil mastermind, Izuku stood surrounded by villains. I need to escape. I'll only hold All Might back. One for All crackled through his veins as the student looked around for an opening. All the conscious villains were eyeing him now. A brawl immediately started as Izuku ran around, jumping high into the air and crashing down. Smash! It was a 6 against 1 with a powerhouse fight overhead. Return young Midoriya at once! All Might's fist was held in All for One's bare hand, and the man behind the mask grinned. That kid would be a great asset to Shigaraki. He will never be a villain! A chuckle escaped the embodiment of evil as he spoke almost gently. I can just modify him to be the perfect right-hand man. Just imagine the news, All Might. Your protege becoming a villain because UA couldn't keep him from harm. What would they say? An image of carnage wrecked through All Might's mind, and he frowned, the light blue eyes glinting with determination. I will never allow that to happen! The hero was blown back a bit, and All for One rose into the air. A condescending voice rang from the breathing device on his face. How would the masses react? How would you react? All Might, imagine your protege working side by side with... He paused to relish the angry face the number 1 hero displayed. Working with the grandson of your mentor, Nana Shimura. A sickening chuckle escaped the world's most dangerous man as he saw the anger dispel. A face of shock, sadness, and twisted agony painted itself like a melancholy painting. And All for One appreciated every second. How does it feel to know that my protege is none other than Tenko Shimura? Thank you all for sticking around, and I hope that you enjoyed. Before you leave, we would just like to let you know that We the Celestials has many other channels for your entertainment and viewing purposes. All the information you'll need is right below here in the description, so feel free to check out all the other incredible projects our team creates. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. That's all for today's video, so goodbye and have a divine day.